The pit is really fun, but contains a lot of glaring issues. Too many of these floors are underwhelming and extremely straightforward, and it needs to be addressed. Today, I'll talk about these issues and give my ideas for how it can be improved. I'll also talk about what the final 20 floors of the pit could look like. Now, the biggest issue of the pit is by far the 6 enemy floors that come before the boss floors. These fights suck. All it is a bunch of enemies that were encountered during a specific part of the story at around the same time. There's no effort put into making new and unique fights with enemies that would otherwise never be in the same battle. Hell, some fights are just one-to-one copies of existing encounters. Creative and unique thinking is essential and would have enemies work around the strengths and weaknesses of their allies, making every encounter feel fresh and interesting for the player. And this isn't a far-fetched idea. This exact creativity is heavily utilized in the boss waves. They contain extremely unique scenarios that spike interest for strategic thinking and coming up with a plan. Whilst the normal enemy waves, it's just spamming your strongest weapon or best crowd control option mindlessly until you win. I think it's a good idea for every enemy from their respective chapter to appear at least once, but there's definitely room to add new enemies. Look at Chapter 5's pit. It adds new enemies unique to the pit. Enemies who would enable other enemies to perform better. This would actually force you to use target priority and feel threatened. Adding enemies unique to the pit is an amazing way to fix this meaningless state of enemy waves, and even give more life for boss waves, so that repeated usage of bosses like the emotions wouldn't be necessary anymore. Seriously, let Fear retire already. He doesn't need to reappear in every single update. We got to see a boss unique to the pit in the recent update, however, with Tuvidir's inclusion on floor 59, and it was a great addition. The council had more time to shine with Tuvidir's insane versatility via his summons and healing, whilst also being a strong new adversary. It completely changed this encounter for the better, and it needs to be utilized more. Now that we understand the pit's true potential, we can properly theorize what the final 20 waves would look like. With each chapter getting their own 10 waves, when chapter 7 is released, we would end at floor 80. And I'm hopeful that these extra floors will be beefing up and creating deluxe versions of many enemies and bosses. Kinda like in Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door, with many of its enemies unique to the pit, being stronger and more unique versions of existing foes. And with the Mario and Luigi games offering harder and improved versions of the story's bosses. This is the best usage of creative freedom and would be extremely intriguing and fun. There is also the possibility of having a sort of boss rush, where we'd encounter all the bosses with them combining forces and getting progressively harder with each fight. But this idea would work better outside of the pit as its own challenge. Another possibility is to rework many floors across the pit to add these enhanced enemies. It would be awesome, but only if the developers are able to balance between completely new ideas and enemies encountered during the story. Chapter 5 really demonstrated the pit's true potential, and it needs to be emphasized in future and existing floors. Both of them could seriously benefit from new life and reworked enemy layouts. For the final 20 floors, they have to make exciting, surprising, and memorable new fights, since this is the part of the pit where they aren't forced to include specific enemies. The restraints are off. Freedom really has no limits, and all it takes is one good idea. And that's a wrap, folks. I really do hope you enjoyed the video, and while I did enjoy completing the pit, I just couldn't ignore the issues and all the wasted potential that it holds. You heard my ideas, but I'd love to hear yours. Feel free to share them in the comments and subscribe for more. Also, thank you so much for 1,000 subscribers. I promise to make more videos like these, and you guys are the best. Alright, with all that being said, have a great rest of your day, and until next time.